I wake up to the blaring sound of my alarm, the soft glow of my phone screen illuminating the darkness of my room. The numbers on my clock don't seem to change much these days, not in a meaningful way. They've become a constant reminder that time is slipping by faster than I can keep up with. It's still early. The sun hasn't risen yet, and my brain is foggy, heavy with the weight of the day ahead. As I stretch out of bed, I feel that familiar tightness in my chest, a mixture of anxiety and exhaustion that seems to have taken permanent residence in my life. Some mornings, it feels like there's no escape from it, like the whole world is slowly squeezing the air out of my lungs. I drag myself into the bathroom, the same tired routine. Brush my teeth, splash some water on my face, stare at the reflection in the mirror, and wonder how I got here. Not just today, but in this situation. I'm 24. I'm supposed to be figuring things out by now, right? But somehow, I feel further behind than ever. My phone buzzes, pulling me out of my thoughts. I pick it up. It's an email, another bill reminder. Rent is due in a few days. There's always something due. I scroll through my bank account and see a number that makes my stomach drop. After paying my bills, buying food, and taking care of all the little things I can't escape, there's barely enough to keep the car running or to pay for my health insurance, which, let's face it, I don't even use that often. I leave the house, the weight of those numbers still lingering. The walk to the bus stop is longer than it should be. The city is waking up around me, but it feels like I'm stuck in some kind of limbo. The traffic, the people hurrying to work, the overwhelming sense of urgency in every step, they all remind me that life is moving faster than I am. I know it's not personal, everyone's struggling, right? But that doesn't make the pressure any easier to bear. I've always been told that hard work pays off. Keep your head down, do your best, and you'll get ahead. But I've been working hard. I really have. The part-time job I've been grinding at for the last 2 years isn't enough to cover everything, and the freelance gigs I take on barely add anything to the pile. I do what I can, when I can, but it never feels like enough. It's like I'm swimming in a sea of expenses, and every time I think I'm about to get a breath, another wave comes crashing down. I sit at my desk at work, trying to focus, but my mind keeps drifting. What's the point of working so hard if it all just gets swallowed up by bills? I haven't been able to save a single penny in months. I thought this job would be a stepping stone, but the more I'm here, the more I realize how stuck I really am. I'm not even sure what moving up means anymore, when everything around me feels like it's built on a foundation that's crumbling. I see coworkers chatting about vacations they're planning, or buying new cars, or moving to nicer places. It's hard not to feel like I'm drowning in comparison. I try not to envy them, but it's hard not to wonder how they afford these things. Do they have family money? Are they really doing better than they say, or am I just missing something? I've had dreams, you know? When I was younger, I thought I'd have my own place by now, maybe even have a little nest egg tucked away for emergencies. But now, I just feel like I'm barely hanging on. Every decision is a compromise. Do I pay the electricity bill this month or buy groceries? Do I skip the doctor's appointment because I know I can't afford the copay? Should I put gas in the car or pay the parking ticket I got last week? The financial strain isn't just a number on a bill or a balance in a bank account. It's a constant hum in the back of my mind, a quiet, insistent voice telling me I'm not doing enough, not being enough. It seeps into everything, how I interact with friends, how I think about the future, how I even feel about myself. There's a weight to this struggle that no one can see, and it's exhausting. When I get home in the evening, the tiredness doesn't go away. There's no reprieve, no sense of rest. I do the dishes, throw together something for dinner, but even the act of cooking feels like a reminder of how far I am from the person I want to be. I've been dreaming of being able to take a week off, to just escape from all of this. But it feels so far out of reach. When I look at my calendar, all I see are the days that stretch out endlessly, with no time to breathe, no time to just exist without this heavy weight pulling me down. I sometimes catch myself imagining a different life, one where I don't have to watch every penny, one where I'm not constantly playing catch-up. But those thoughts feel like fantasies now, stories I tell myself to survive the day. I wonder if I'll ever be able to afford to travel like I always dreamed of. Or if I'll ever get to move out of this cramped apartment, or if I'll ever have a real savings account. Some days, it feels like these are things that just aren't meant for people like me. I've tried to stay optimistic. I keep telling myself that it's just a phase, that things will get better eventually. But it's hard to believe that when the bills keep stacking up faster than my income, when I'm stuck in a job that isn't moving me anywhere. I'm afraid that this is my reality now, living paycheck to paycheck, constantly worried, always behind. It's not just the financial strain, it's the emotional exhaustion that comes with it. I wish I could talk to someone about how I feel, but I'm not even sure where to begin. No one else seems to be struggling as much as I am. When I bring it up, people say things like, "It'll get better," or "just keep going." But it's hard to hold on to those words when the ground beneath me feels like it's always shifting. I guess my biggest fear is that I'll be stuck here forever. That I'll never get out of this rut, that I'll never get to experience the things I've dreamed about. I'm so tired of feeling like I'm not enough, like no matter how hard I work, it's just not going to make a difference. Still, there's a part of me that holds on to hope. I tell myself that something will change, that I'll figure it out, even though the path ahead isn't clear. I want to believe that someday, I'll look back and see this as a moment of struggle, but not the defining moment of my life. Maybe I just need to hold on for a little longer. Maybe, just maybe, there's a future out there that isn't defined by this constant fight for survival. But for now, I'm here, struggling through another day, doing the best I can, even when it feels like the world is pushing against me. The weight is heavy, but I'm still standing. And sometimes, that's all I can do. Stand. Even if it feels like the ground beneath me is slowly slipping away. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. It helps the content grow and motivates me to create even more great videos. Turn on notifications so you don't miss any new uploads. By the way, I'm curious, when do you usually watch my videos? While working, studying, or just relaxing at home? Let me know in the comments, I'd love to hear from you. Thank you for your support. It's getting harder to breathe. I don't mean that literally, but some days it feels like I'm suffocating under the weight of it all: finances, bills, debts, rent. It's a constant hum in the background of my life. Every time I think I've found a moment to exhale, something else comes up. It's as if there's this ticking clock inside my head that never stops. It's not the normal kind of ticking, though. It's the kind that makes you feel like you're losing time, losing hope, and that the world keeps speeding up while you're stuck on pause. I guess I'm not alone in this. I hear about it all the time, how the economy's changing, how the cost of living keeps rising, how wages stay stagnant, how people like me just can't catch a break. But knowing others are in the same boat doesn't really make it easier. Sometimes, it feels more like a reminder that no matter what I do, I can't escape the system. I can't outrun the weight of it. I'm 24. I'm not supposed to be here yet, right? I'm not supposed to feel like I'm barely scraping by every month. I should have time to think about my future, to dream without fear of how much those dreams are going to cost. Instead, it's all numbers. Bills. Rent. Student loans. Groceries. Gas. I get tired of it. It feels like everything I've worked for is slipping through my fingers. Take today, for example. It started off like any other day. I woke up early, checked my bank account, bad idea. There was just enough to cover the rent, and that was about it. I'd been doing the math in my head for the last few days, trying to figure out how to stretch what's left. It's getting harder to do that. I keep cutting back, but every time I think I've made a dent in the problem, something new comes up. Last week, my car needed repairs. Now, the fridge is acting up. And somehow, there's never enough room for anything else. The emergency fund I keep trying to build is more like a joke at this point. I try not to think about it too much because the reality of it, how it's almost non-existent, just makes my stomach churn. It's not just about the money, though. It's about the feeling of being trapped. My mind races in circles, thinking about how I'm doing everything I can and still feel like I'm drowning. Every decision feels loaded with stress. Do I pay the electricity bill this month, or do I put that toward gas so I can get to work? Do I buy food, or do I settle for something cheaper and less nutritious to make sure I can cover the next expense? It's exhausting. I've become so focused on survival that I've lost track of what it feels like to truly live. I don't have the energy to think about what makes me happy anymore. I don't even know if I can afford happiness. The worst part is that I've had to put my dreams on hold. I used to want to travel, to see new places, meet new people, experience life beyond the narrow limits of my paycheck. I used to want to be someone who could create, someone who could take risks, do something big. I remember thinking, just a couple of years ago, that I had all the time in the world to make that happen. But now? Now I can barely remember what it felt like to have hope. Those dreams feel so far away, like a distant memory of someone I used to be. Instead, I'm here, scrapping together the bare minimum just to get by. I used to tell myself, just get through today. That was the mantra. One day at a time, right? But it doesn't feel like I'm moving forward. I'm just moving in place, stuck in a loop of bills and payments and waiting for something to change, even though I know deep down that change doesn't come without effort. And that effort, well, it feels like too much sometimes. The weight of everything on my shoulders, every decision, every fear, it's so heavy. And the worst part is that I can't share it with anyone. Not really. Not in a way that makes sense. Because who wants to hear about how hard it is to make rent, how tired you are of working a job that doesn't pay enough to even pretend you're building a future? My friends, when I can get the energy to be around them, don't understand. They have it better. Maybe not perfect, but better. They're buying homes, going on vacations, planning for their futures. I don't know how they do it. I mean, they've got their own struggles, but it's different when you feel like you're living paycheck to paycheck. Like you're caught in a system that's designed to break you. They don't understand the anxiety that comes with opening a bank statement, or that sense of doom when you realize you're not going to make it. I don't talk about it with my family much either. They're struggling too, just in different ways. My parents did everything they could to give me and my siblings a better life, but now they're both in their 50s, still working to pay off mortgages and make ends meet. It's hard to ask them for help when they're in the same boat. We all just do what we can. They've told me to keep pushing, that things will get better, but deep down, I wonder if they believe that or if they're just saying it to keep me going. I've thought about quitting my job more than once. Not because I don't like what I do, actually, but because it doesn't pay enough to make me feel like I have a future. It doesn't make me feel like I'm building something. And when I look around at people who seem to have it together, I start to wonder if I made the wrong choices. Maybe I should have gone to school for something more lucrative. Maybe I should have done something different, something safer, something that would have led to a stable, predictable life. But what do you do when the thing you love doesn't pay the bills? What do you do when the dream feels so far away that it's not even worth reaching for anymore? I don't know. I don't have the answers. I only know that I'm tired. Tired of trying to keep up, tired of making sacrifices, tired of pretending I'm okay when I'm not. The worst part of all of this, I think, is the feeling of shame. It's this quiet voice in my head that tells me I'm not good enough, that I'm not working hard enough, that I'm not managing my life right. It's the belief that everyone around me has figured it out while I'm just stuck. It's knowing that I should be doing more, should be getting ahead somehow, but never feeling like I'm enough. There are nights when I lie awake, staring at the ceiling, wondering how long I can keep doing this. How long I can keep pretending like everything is fine when it feels like I'm on the edge of breaking down. But somehow, I always keep going. Maybe it's stubbornness. Maybe it's the fear of what will happen if I don't. Either way, I keep moving forward, one small step at a time, holding on to the hope that, someday, things will get better. Maybe not now, maybe not tomorrow, but eventually. I have to believe that. I have to. It's 8:30 a.m., and my alarm goes off for the third time. I don't know why I keep setting it for 7:30, what's the point anymore? It's not like I get up early, or that I have anywhere special to be. The reality is that I get out of bed just to try to make the day feel productive. But every morning feels the same. I roll over, grab my phone, check my bank account, and feel that familiar tightness in my chest. I've been trying to ignore the growing sense of panic for the past few months, but it's getting harder to push it away. Rent's due soon, and I can already feel that crushing weight, knowing it'll take nearly every penny in my account to cover it. It's like I'm walking through a storm, and I'm just trying to keep my head above water. But the waves keep coming faster and harder, and every time I think I'm about to catch my breath, another wave hits. I've heard a lot of people say that this is what being an adult is all about. You grow up, get a job, and work your ass off to make a living. But nobody ever warned me about how relentless it would be, how the numbers would never add up no matter how hard I try. The economy's in shambles, and it feels like every time I take one step forward, the cost of living takes 2 steps back. Gas prices, groceries, rent, utilities, it all adds up so quickly, and my paycheck just isn't enough to keep up. There's no cushion. No space to breathe. I try to hold it together. I really do. But it's exhausting. Most days, I can't even focus on work because I'm too preoccupied with the looming bills, the future that seems so uncertain. I've stopped making plans for the weekend. At first, I'd look forward to spending time with friends, maybe going to a concert or grabbing drinks. But now, every plan feels like a luxury I can't afford. The idea of even spending $30 on dinner out feels like I'm throwing money away, especially when I have so many other things to pay for. The worst part is the guilt. I feel guilty for feeling this way. I've got friends who are doing better, friends who've got careers that are actually moving forward, who don't seem to worry about money the way I do. I know they probably don't judge me for it, but I judge myself. I wonder what I'm doing wrong. I wonder if I'm lazy, or if I just didn't pick the right career. I graduated college with big dreams, excited about what I could accomplish. I thought I would land a job, work hard, and eventually build something. Instead, I'm barely scraping by, always wondering if this is the best it's ever going to get. Some days, I sit on my couch in the middle of the afternoon and think about the dreams I've had to put on hold. I used to dream about traveling, seeing the world, experiencing new places, meeting new people. I imagined taking a year off and backpacking through Europe or Asia. I wanted to have a place of my own, where I could paint the walls whatever color I liked, throw dinner parties with friends, and create a space that felt like home. But instead, I'm just trying to make it through the next day without overdrawing my bank account or using up the last of my credit card limit. When I think about the future, it's hard not to feel hopeless. I used to think that if I worked hard enough, everything would fall into place. But now, I'm not sure what to believe. Every day feels like I'm running in place, and the goalposts keep shifting. Even when I do get a raise or an unexpected bonus, it's like a brief respite before I get hit with another bill or another expense I wasn't anticipating. I don't know how much longer I can keep this up. I've cut back on everything, no more Uber Eats, no more spontaneous shopping trips. I barely buy anything for myself anymore. And still, it's never enough. Every time I get an email or a notification about a new bill, my stomach drops. I can't help but wonder, where is all this leading? But then I tell myself to breathe. To keep going. Because what else is there to do? I can't just give up. The thought of staying stuck in this rut forever scares me. Sometimes, in moments of quiet, I think about what I'd do if I had the freedom to make choices without worrying about money. I could work on the art projects I've been putting off, or take that road trip up the coast I've always dreamed of. I could start the business I've been toying with in my head for years. I could actually save up for the things I want without feeling like I'm failing. But all of that feels so far out of reach. So, I keep going. I drag myself out of bed every day, pour a cup of coffee, and go through the motions. I remind myself that I'm doing my best, that it's okay to feel overwhelmed, but that I have to keep pushing forward. I tell myself that someday things will get better, but it's hard to hold on to that hope when it feels like I'm drowning in the weight of it all. It's like I'm stuck in a system that's designed to keep me down. Expenses rise, wages stay the same, and there's no real path out. I keep asking myself, when is it going to get better? When can I start living the life I dreamed of instead of just surviving? But no one seems to have an answer. The truth is, some days are better than others. Some days, I remind myself that I've come this far. I still have a roof over my head, a job, food to eat. I remind myself that, in some ways, I've already made it. But even on the good days, the weight is always there, just beneath the surface. It's hard to explain to people who haven't experienced it, how it feels to be constantly juggling, to never have enough, to always be worried about what comes next. I wish I could be one of those people who seems to have it all together. The ones who talk about their future with confidence, who make plans and follow through without hesitation. But that's not me. Not right now, anyway. So I'll keep going. I'll keep surviving. I'll keep hoping that, maybe someday, the tide will turn. That I won't have to count the days until payday, that I'll finally feel like I'm in control of my life. For now, I hold on to that hope, even if it feels like it's slipping through my fingers. Because what else is there to do? I can't give up. Not yet. I'm not sure when it started, but I can feel it now, every day, like a weight pressing down on my chest. It's not just about the bills or the rent. It's about something deeper, something I can't quite name, this constant, gnawing anxiety that I can't outrun. No matter how hard I try, it's always there, lingering in the background of every decision I make. It's in the way I hesitate before buying anything that isn't absolutely necessary. It's in the way I've learned to do the mental math before making any purchase, calculating how much it will cut into the very little I have left after paying rent, utilities, student loans. I graduated 2 years ago with a degree I thought would lead to a bright future. I thought the world would be waiting for me. But instead, it feels like the ground under me is crumbling. It's not that I'm ungrateful, there are people who have it worse, I know that. But the pressure of trying to keep up with a world that demands so much while offering so little in return is slowly wearing me down. I wake up every morning, eyes bleary, with the weight of the day ahead already bearing down on me. I check my bank account, always a habit I dread, and it's the same story every time. A couple $100, maybe a little more if I've managed to save by not spending on anything I really need. The balance is shrinking faster than I can keep up. Rent is due in a week, the electricity bill is overdue, and I still haven't made a dent in my student loans. I try not to panic when I see the numbers, but sometimes it's hard not to feel like I'm sinking, inch by inch. It's not that I don't work hard. I work 2 jobs, sometimes 3, if you count the odd freelance gig I try to squeeze in during late nights or weekends. My 9-to-5 job is okay, but it's barely enough to cover the basics. I tell myself that it's just temporary, that things will get better once I've paid off some of my debt, once I've saved a little more. But every time I get close to having a buffer, something happens, another unexpected expense, a car repair, a medical bill, or worse, the sudden jump in prices that seem to happen overnight. The cost of living rises so fast that I'm not sure I'll ever be able to catch up. A few months ago, I tried to budget. I sat down with a spreadsheet, calculated my expenses, and tried to figure out where I could cut costs. I canceled subscriptions, Netflix, Spotify, anything I didn't need to survive. I stopped going out with friends, because it seemed irresponsible to spend money on a drink or dinner when I could barely afford to keep food in my fridge. But the cuts never seem to be enough. Every time I think I've finally balanced things out, some new, unavoidable expense comes out of nowhere, throwing my whole system into chaos. I try to remind myself that it's okay to ask for help, but pride keeps me from reaching out. Besides, everyone else is struggling too, right? I watch friends and family move forward in life, buying houses, getting married, going on vacations. And I can't help but wonder, how do they do it? How are they living in a world where everything feels so expensive and out of reach? Sometimes, I feel like I'm running in place while everyone else is making progress. It's frustrating, to say the least. The emotional toll is harder to explain. It's like this constant cloud hanging over me. I don't want to admit it, but there are days when I feel so burned out, so emotionally drained from the daily grind, that I can't even muster the energy to dream. I used to have dreams, big ones, traveling, starting a business, moving to a city that felt more like home. But somewhere along the way, those dreams began to feel like luxuries, things that only people with more money could afford. I try to convince myself that it's temporary, that I'll get there eventually, but it's hard to stay hopeful when the weight of the present feels so heavy. Sometimes, I'll stand in front of the mirror and wonder who I'm becoming. I don't recognize this version of myself, the person who doesn't have the energy to enjoy life, the one who has forgotten what it feels like to be free. I used to be optimistic, always looking toward the future with excitement. Now, I'm just trying to make it through the day. It's a feeling I'm not sure I know how to get rid of. There's no one to blame, really. The world has always been this way. It's just that I didn't know how heavy the weight would feel until I had to carry it myself. The worst part is the shame. I know I'm not the only one struggling, but it still feels isolating. There's a part of me that's embarrassed that I'm not doing better, that I can't make the numbers work, that I'm falling short of the expectations I had for myself. It's hard to talk about, because everyone tells you to just work harder, be smarter, make better decisions. And while that advice is well-meaning, it doesn't always change the fact that the system isn't built for someone like me. It's hard to thrive when the game is rigged, and it feels like you're always playing catch-up. So, I cope. I've become a master at making things last longer than they should, clothes until they fall apart, food until it spoils, friendships until they become strained from lack of time or attention. I remind myself that I'm doing the best I can, but some days, that doesn't feel like enough. I remind myself that it's okay to not have it all figured out yet, but the pressure of living in a world that tells me I should have it all together can be suffocating. I think about the future, sometimes. I imagine a life where I don't have to check my bank account every day, where I can go on a vacation or invest in something bigger than just surviving. But I'm afraid that the longer I live like this, the further away those dreams will get. I worry that they'll fade into nothingness, just another casualty of a system that prioritizes profit over people. But I can't give up, not yet. I don't know what the future holds, and maybe that's the scariest part. But I hold on to the hope that one day, somehow, things will get better. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but I have to believe that one day I'll be able to breathe without that constant pressure pressing down on me. For now, though, I keep pushing forward. I keep going, one day at a time, trying to hold on to what little hope I have left. It's not easy, but I've learned to be patient with myself. I have to be, because what other choice do I have? It's hard to explain to someone who doesn't feel it, but every time I open my bank account, it feels like a punch in the stomach. Like something deep inside me sinks, and I can't breathe for a second. I've gotten used to it, though. Not the shock, but the constant waiting for the next blow. Because it's never just a one-time thing. It's every day. The bills, the rent, the unexpected car repair, the grocery costs that keep rising, each new thing feels like another layer of weight I have to carry, another piece of my life that slips further out of my control. I'm 24, fresh out of college, and I don't even know what the word stability means anymore. The plan was to get a job, work hard, and make enough to feel secure. Instead, I find myself living paycheck to paycheck, scraping by, and wondering how the hell everyone else seems to make it look so easy. I can't afford to go out, I can't afford to eat out, I can't afford anything that feels like luxury. And I hate that. I hate the feeling of not being able to treat myself. I try to justify it, tell myself that my friends are in the same boat. That we're all just working through it, doing what we can. But it's hard to feel connected when I see them posting about vacations I can't afford or new clothes they buy just because they want to. I won't lie, it makes me angry. It feels like I'm stuck in a loop, grinding away for something that always feels just out of reach. And then there's the guilt that comes with that anger. Who am I to be upset when I'm healthy, when I have a job at all? but sometimes, it feels like no matter how hard I work, the money is never enough. I think about the future a lot, but it's hard to imagine anything beyond the next month. If that. Some days, it feels like I can't even plan dinner because I don't know if I'll have enough to get the ingredients. I've stopped going to the gym because the membership fee is a luxury now. The only place I go is work, and even that feels like a treadmill I can't get off of. The more I think about it, the more I realize that the real problem is that my income doesn't rise nearly fast enough to match the costs of living. The rent goes up every year. It's never a huge jump, but it doesn't have to be. It just adds up. One year, it was a $50 increase, and I thought, okay, I can manage that. But then there's the grocery store, where my $30 goes half as far as it used to. And then my phone bill jumps $10 because of some rate adjustment, and I can't call to argue because I've learned it's just easier to pay. My car insurance increases, too, and somehow I end up skipping the oil change for a couple of months because I need to stretch every dollar. And I keep thinking, why does everything cost more, but my paycheck stays the same? Some days I wake up and try to look on the bright side. I tell myself that this is temporary. I remind myself that everyone's going through it. But deep down, I wonder how long I can keep telling myself that. I can't keep kicking the can down the road. How long before I snap? Before I just give up on the idea that I can make this work? The thing is, I don't even know what making it would look like anymore. A stable job, a house, a future that doesn't feel like it's one disaster away from falling apart. I used to have dreams of traveling, of living in a city where I felt alive, where I could meet new people, take a weekend trip just because I felt like it. Now those dreams are just background noise, things I push out of my head because they feel impossible. I don't talk about this with my family. They mean well, but I know what they'll say. You're young, you have time. It'll get better when you get some experience. You can always move back home if it gets too bad. I hate that last one. I know they're not saying it to put me down, but to me, it feels like an admission of failure. Like I'd be taking a step backward. Like I'm not doing enough to make it work. My friends say the same things, you'll get there. Don't stress so much. It's not their fault, they don't understand the pressure, the constant panic of checking the balance in my account and seeing that I'm barely scraping by. I think the worst part is that I feel invisible. No one sees this struggle but me. No one sees how much I'm trying, how much I'm exhausting myself just to keep going. They see the facade, the smile I put on when I show up to work, the I'm doing fine when they ask how I'm doing. But I'm not fine. I'm drowning, and every day is a battle to stay afloat. I've started getting creative with my coping mechanisms. I sell things I don't need, like clothes I don't wear or books I've read already. It's not a lot, but it helps. I've stopped getting my coffee from the cafe and started brewing it at home, and when I crave something sweet, I make it myself instead of buying it. But even those little savings don't seem to add up in the long run. I cut back on eating out, on socializing, on everything that isn't a necessity. But still, there's always something. There's always the rent that needs to be paid, the medical bills, the damn student loan I can't escape from. It's not that I'm lazy. I work hard. I do my job, and I do it well. But at the end of the day, it feels like no matter how much effort I put in, it's never enough. And that's what gets to me, this feeling of being trapped in a system that doesn't seem to care how hard you work. They say hard work pays off, but when does it actually pay off? When does it stop feeling like I'm just spinning my wheels? I've stopped making long-term plans. What's the point? I've put off trips I wanted to take, things I wanted to buy, experiences I thought I'd have by now. I wanted to be able to save up for a house, but now I just want to make sure I can pay the rent next month. I wanted to take a year off and travel before settling down into a real job. I wanted to enjoy my 20s, to not feel like I'm living to work. But that's exactly what I'm doing, working to survive, not to live. But I'm not giving up yet. Some days, it feels like there's nothing left to fight for, but I remind myself that even the smallest victories count. Like when I manage to get a little extra cash from tutoring or freelance work. Like when I manage to pay off a credit card bill a little earlier than I expected. And I hold on to the hope that maybe, one day, it will get easier. I don't know when that will be, or how, but I try to believe that this isn't all there is. That there's more to life than just the struggle. Maybe it's naive. But it's the only thing keeping me going. I keep dreaming, even when it feels pointless. Because maybe, if I hold on long enough, I'll get there. Maybe one day, I'll look back and wonder why I ever doubted myself. Maybe. But for now, I just keep pushing. Just keep going. Because what else can I do? I wake up to the sound of my phone vibrating on the nightstand. It's a text from my bank alerting me that my paycheck has been deposited. I roll over, squinting at the screen, then sit up and scroll through the message. It's not much, just enough to cover the essentials. Rent, utilities, groceries. I don't even have the energy to check if there's anything left over. I know there won't be. I've always been told that if you work hard enough, things will get better. But lately, that feels like a lie. I'm 24, living paycheck to paycheck, and it's getting harder to make ends meet. It's not for lack of trying. I juggle 2 jobs, one full-time, one part-time, and I still can't shake this feeling that I'm sinking, that no matter how much I work, my income is always a step behind my expenses. Rent's gone up. Gas prices are higher. The grocery bill seems to grow every week, and now there's the looming weight of student loans I can't even remember signing up for. I know I'm not alone in this, I've heard my friends talk about it, seen the posts online. Everyone's in the same boat, just trying to stay afloat. But knowing others are struggling doesn't make it any easier. If anything, it just makes me feel like we're all trapped, pretending that the system will somehow fix itself if we just keep pushing harder. I'm trying to keep my head above water, but the water keeps rising. I stand up, make coffee, and scan my bills. Rent is due in a week, and I'm a few hundred short. I can pull it together, I know, by borrowing from one card to pay another or asking my mom for help. She's always there when I need it, but I can hear the strain in her voice whenever I ask. I hate asking, but there's no way around it. I'll pay her back when I can, she says it's fine, but I know she worries. We both do. The thing is, I don't even know where to start cutting back. I've already given up on anything resembling a social life. I haven't gone out for a drink in months. Even catching up with friends over coffee feels like an indulgence now. It's all small sacrifices that seem insignificant until they pile up. My phone bill is the only luxury I've let myself keep, and even that nags at me. A constant reminder of the things I can't afford but can't quite give up. I spend the morning at my full-time job, sitting at a desk in a cubicle, pretending to focus while my mind races with all the things I should be doing. I'm good at my job, I get positive feedback, but it doesn't matter. No matter how well I perform, the paychecks still don't stretch far enough. I can feel my ambition shrinking with every passing month. I've always been the type to dream big, about owning a house, traveling, building a future where money isn't a constant source of anxiety. But now, it feels like those dreams are a joke. I've thought about going back to school to improve my job prospects, but I can't afford tuition. I've thought about finding a higher-paying job, but everything seems out of reach, like the job market has moved on without me. Sometimes I feel like I'm the only one stuck, like everyone else has figured it out, but I'm still here, staring at the same bills, working the same jobs, and watching everything slip further away. At lunch, I sit outside and try to eat something quick. A sandwich that's too small for how hungry I am. I glance at my phone, check the news, and see another headline about inflation, how things are only going to get worse. It's the same every day. Gas prices are up, rent is up, the cost of living keeps climbing, but my income doesn't. No one talks about it, everyone's too busy pretending they're managing. But I can feel it in my bones. There's this pressure, this unspoken weight we all carry. The system feels rigged, like we're all playing a game we can't win, but we're too scared to stop playing. I get home after work, exhausted. I make dinner, a cheap one, of course, rice and beans, something I've eaten more times than I can count. I sit in front of the TV, scrolling through social media, watching people post about their vacations or new jobs, about the things they've achieved. There's a bitter feeling that rises up, but I swallow it down, pretending it doesn't hurt. I try to remind myself that not everything is about money. Still, it's hard when you can't even remember the last time you had a night out or bought something just for yourself. The dreams I once had, of traveling, maybe living somewhere else, of not having to check my bank account every day, feel distant, like they belong to someone else now. I lie in bed that night, staring at the ceiling. I've always imagined that by the time I was 25, I'd have some of this figured out. I thought I'd be independent, stable, able to take care of myself without relying on others. But instead, I'm still scrapping together enough to survive, still wondering if I'll ever be able to afford the life I thought was waiting for me. I tell myself it's temporary, that things will get better, that I'll find a way to break free from this cycle. But the truth is, it feels like I'm just waiting for the right moment to escape, only to realize it's never coming. Every time I think I'm getting ahead, something new comes up, an unexpected bill, an expense I didn't account for, a repair I have to make. I can't help but wonder, will this always be my reality? Will I ever get to a place where I'm not constantly stressed, constantly hustling, just to survive? Or will I always be caught in this loop of trying to make ends meet, watching the world move forward while I'm stuck trying to keep my head above water? I want to hope. I want to believe that one day, I'll look back at this and see it as a phase, a tough chapter in a life that got better. But right now, the pressure feels suffocating. I don't know how much longer I can keep pretending that I have it all together. The dreams I once had, of being free from this, of not feeling so trapped, are still there, but they seem farther away than ever. And I'm not sure what the answer is anymore. All I know is that tomorrow, I'll wake up, check my bank account, and keep moving forward, because that's all I can do. I just hope it's enough. It's a weird kind of exhaustion that comes from always thinking about money. Not the kind that comes from working too many hours or running a marathon, but the kind that keeps you awake at night, staring at the ceiling, trying to calculate whether you can afford a coffee tomorrow or if you should skip lunch just to make it through the week. It's the kind of exhaustion that isn't visible to anyone but you. It sits in your chest, a dull, constant ache that never goes away. Some days it feels like I'm drowning in it, and some days it's just a low hum in the background. But either way, it's always there. I'm 23. I should be starting to figure things out, shouldn't I? I graduated college 2 years ago with a degree in communications, and my head was full of big ideas. I thought I'd be at a job I loved by now, doing something that made a difference, or at least something that didn't make me feel like I'm constantly scraping by. But that's not how it's played out. Instead, I'm in a part-time gig with a small company where my pay barely covers rent, utilities, and a grocery run every other week if I'm lucky. It's not even close to enough to give me any breathing room, and every time I check my bank account, it's a reminder that I'm barely treading water. Sometimes I get frustrated with myself. Why didn't I think ahead? Why didn't I plan better? The thing is, I did try. I saved where I could. I took on extra shifts when they were offered, even though I was already running on fumes. I tried to follow the rules, go to school, get a degree, work hard, and eventually you'll make it. But somehow, the rules don't seem to apply the same way anymore. The costs keep rising, and wages aren't keeping up. I hear about inflation all the time, but when it's happening to you, when your rent goes up by $200 and your grocery bill jumps by 25% in a single month, it feels different. It feels like you're caught in a loop, like the more you try to climb out, the further you fall back. I've had to give up so many things I once thought I'd have by now. The apartment I dreamed of, a small one-bedroom with enough space for me to not feel like a guest in my own life. A car, because taking public transport in this city means you're always running late and waiting for trains that never come. I used to dream about traveling, about seeing new places and meeting new people. Now, traveling feels like a distant fantasy I tell myself one day about, knowing that day is probably never coming. The pressure makes everything feel so heavy. I can't even enjoy the little things. Even when I manage to save a bit and treat myself to a coffee or a meal out, there's this underlying guilt that ruins it. Like, I shouldn't be spending this $5 when there's a bill that's due in a few days, or that emergency car repair I don't have money for yet. It's a weird kind of shame, isn't it? Like I should be doing better, like I'm failing at something. But then, when I step back, I realize, what am I failing at? Trying to live within a system that's stacked against me? Trying to make my dreams happen in a world where it feels like no one really wants you to get ahead? I guess that's the thing no one tells you when you're young, it's not just about working hard. It's about luck, timing, privilege, and being in the right place at the right time. I don't have any of that. I'm trying to navigate a system that feels like it's always 3 steps ahead of me, pulling me in directions I didn't sign up for. Some days, it feels like it doesn't matter how much I work, how much I sacrifice. The goalpost keeps moving, and I'm never quite close enough to touch it. I've started to shut down parts of myself. I don't talk about it with my friends anymore because they're in the same boat. They're all struggling in their own ways, and I don't want to burden them with my constant worrying. It's like we all pretend we're okay, that things are going fine. But if I'm being honest, I feel like I'm cracking underneath the surface. Some nights, I wonder if it'll ever stop. Will I always feel this tight in my chest, always worrying about what comes next? I've tried to get better at coping, though. I've started walking more, even when I don't have the energy. It's strange, but moving my body somehow gives me a bit of space to breathe. Sometimes, when I'm walking, I imagine a future where I'm not constantly stressed about money, where I can make decisions based on what I actually want to do, not just on what I can afford. It feels impossible, but it's the only thing that keeps me from getting totally overwhelmed. I think, deep down, I still have some hope. I'm not sure exactly what that hope looks like anymore, but it's there, flickering somewhere inside me. Maybe it's a new job with a living wage. Maybe it's a partner who gets it, who understands the strain and the stress and doesn't judge me for not always being at my best. Maybe it's even something simpler, like the day when I can finally pay off the last bit of debt and feel like I have a bit of freedom. But I know that those dreams have been delayed, like everything else. I don't know how long I can hold on to them. Sometimes, the weight feels too heavy. Some days, I get so angry, so tired, that I want to scream at the world for being this way. But then I just remind myself that I'm not alone in this struggle. Everyone around me is feeling it, too. We're all navigating the same storm, doing the best we can with what we have. Still, I can't shake the feeling that I'm waiting for something to change, waiting for the pressure to ease, for things to get better. I just don't know how much longer I can hold on to that hope. Every day, I'm faced with the fact that I'm doing everything I can, and it still might not be enough. But maybe that's the part one need to hold on to, the part that keeps me going, that even if it feels like I'm constantly falling short, even if the world seems designed to keep me struggling, I'm still here. I'm still fighting, still pushing through, even when it feels like I'm drowning in it all. And maybe, just maybe, that's enough. It's hard to even know where to begin, but I guess that's always been the case. Life feels like a series of small, scattered moments that never quite make sense together. Some days I wake up feeling like I'm suffocating. Other days, I'm just numb, surviving because I have to, but barely feeling alive. Every part of my life has been tainted by this weight I can't shake off, money. Or, more accurately, the lack of it. I've always been told to work hard, get an education, and build a future. It seemed so simple when I was younger. People made it sound like if you just played by the rules, everything would fall into place. But now, here I am at 28, sitting in a small apartment I can barely afford, and the rules feel like they're designed to crush me, not help me succeed. The bills never stop. Rent is due. Credit card payments are due. Student loans are due. Even the smallest unexpected expense can knock everything off balance. It's like there's no space to breathe, no margin for error. I've started to dread checking my bank account, knowing that if I'm not careful, I'll be staring at a number that will leave me feeling even more hopeless. I can't remember the last time I treated myself to something without the immediate aftermath of guilt creeping in. I know I shouldn't splurge, but every now and then, I want to feel like I'm not living in a constant state of scarcity. I'll grab a coffee on a bad day, and even as I sip it, I feel the weight of that decision. Could have saved that $5, I think to myself. Could have put it toward my credit card balance or toward my savings. Oh, wait, I don't have savings. That's one of the worst parts of all of this. The future feels so far out of reach. Every time I think about saving or investing in anything, I'm immediately hit with the cold reality that I'm living paycheck to paycheck. If an emergency came up right now, an unexpected car repair, a doctor's visit, anything, I would be completely screwed. I don't have a safety net. I can't even imagine what it would feel like to have financial security. I've been trying to stay on top of everything, but I can't keep up. It's not like I'm doing nothing. I work full-time at a job that barely covers my living expenses. The hours are long, the pay is low, and the work is exhausting. I'm always tired. I always feel like I'm running behind. And no matter how hard I try, it never seems like I'm getting ahead. The cost of living is rising faster than my income. Every year, prices go up, rent, groceries, gas, everything. But my paychecks stay the same, and in some cases, they even shrink after taxes. I remember a time when I thought things would get better, when I'd have more breathing room, but now I see that the system isn't built for people like me. It's built for the people who can already afford to take risks, who have family money to fall back on, or who have jobs that pay well enough to make all of this manageable. For the rest of us? We're stuck. There's no upward mobility, no way out, and no one seems to care. Some days, I feel like I'm just drowning in a sea of financial anxiety. I can't even relax at the end of the day because I'm always thinking about how I'm going to make it through the next month. I'm constantly weighing every decision. Do I need to buy groceries, or can I just make do with what's left in the pantry? Do I need to get gas, or can I stretch it out a little longer? Every decision, no matter how small, feels like a life or death choice. And in the back of my mind, there's always this constant question, how long can I keep doing this? I try to stay hopeful, but it's hard. It's hard when it feels like the world is moving forward, but I'm stuck in place, watching everything around me grow more expensive while my wages barely budge. I dream of a future where I'm not constantly stressed about money, where I can take vacations without feeling guilty, where I can buy something just because I want it and not because I can justify it in my budget. I dream of a day when I don't have to worry about running out of money before the end of the month. But those dreams seem so far away now. It feels like the harder I try to hold on, the more I slip through the cracks. There's no guarantee of a better tomorrow. Just today. And tomorrow. And next month. And it feels like this will be my life forever. I've stopped making big plans for the future. The things I used to dream about, starting my own business, buying a house, traveling the world, seem ridiculous now. How could I ever afford those things? I'm just trying to make sure I don't fall behind on my rent. I put so many of my dreams on hold, not because I want to, but because it's the reality I'm forced to face. But I still try to hold on to some small things that make life worth living. I watch sunsets whenever I can. I keep in touch with my friends, even though we can't go out much anymore. We meet for cheap dinners, or sometimes just hang out at home, but it's still a connection that reminds me that I'm not alone in this. We all seem to be struggling in different ways, but we're all trying to make it through together. I've started to learn how to manage the emotional toll that this has taken on me. It's not easy. Some days, I feel like I'm carrying the weight of the world, but I'm learning to ask for help when I need it. I've been trying to be kinder to myself, not blaming myself for things I can't control. It's not my fault that rent is skyrocketing, or that wages haven't kept up with inflation. It's not my fault that the economy is failing a whole generation. But no matter how much I try to remind myself of that, the emotional burden still weighs heavy. I can't escape the feeling that I'm running out of time. That my 20s are slipping away, and I'm not accomplishing the things I thought I would. Every year that passes, it feels like I'm further and further behind, and the pressure builds. I'm terrified that by the time I'm older, I'll have missed out on everything I wanted for my life. The hardest part is the constant comparison. I see people my age, people who are doing well, who've bought homes, started families, gone on trips, and I wonder what I'm doing wrong. I can't help but feel inadequate, like I'm failing at this whole life thing. I try to remind myself that everyone's journey is different, but it's hard to not feel left behind when it seems like everyone else is moving forward while I'm standing still. I don't know how much longer I can keep going like this. Some days, I wonder if it's worth it at all. But I'm trying to hold on to the smallest glimmer of hope. I'm trying to believe that things will get better, even if that means making peace with the fact that it won't happen overnight. I'm trying to remember that even in the midst of all this, I'm doing the best I can. I don't know what the future holds, but I'm doing my best to keep moving forward. Maybe someday, I'll get the chance to live a life that doesn't feel like it's always on the edge of collapse. Maybe someday, I'll finally be able to breathe. But until then, I'll keep waking up, keep fighting, and keep hoping. Because that's all I can do right now. Hey, friends! If you enjoy this content, don't forget to like the video and share your thoughts in the comments. We really want to know what you like and what can be improved. What do you think of the video? Are there any topics you'd like to see in future videos? Your feedback really helps us get better. Thanks for being with us. It's a strange feeling, waking up every morning to the buzz of the alarm, knowing you're going to be running a race that you've already lost. But that's how I feel, like I'm always 2 steps behind, no matter how hard I try. Every day, I fight the same battle, trying to make my paycheck stretch a little longer, praying that this time it'll work out better. But it never does. I know the math doesn't add up, and I think part of me has always known it wouldn't, but somehow, I keep pretending like it could. I live in a city that's alive with energy, bustling with opportunity, but it feels like that energy is reserved for everyone but people like me. I moved here a couple of years ago, full of optimism, convinced that everything would be better once I got here. A fresh start. There were all these bright, shining moments that I could imagine, the big city job I'd land, the friends I'd make, the endless possibilities that come with living in a place where dreams are supposed to come true. But the reality's been different. It's not about dreams anymore. It's about survival. Take rent, for example. My rent went up again this year. The landlord didn't even bother with the courtesy of a warning, just slipped the new lease under my door one morning, and there it was. My rent had jumped $200, just like that. And I swear, I stared at that piece of paper for a good 20 minutes, trying to make sense of it, like if I read it enough times, it would somehow make sense. But it didn't. The thing is, I can't leave. I know it's not the best situation, hell, it's barely livable. The apartment's small, the walls are thin, and the plumbing's questionable. But moving is expensive, and the only other places I can afford are worse. So, I stay. I swallow the frustration, the resentment, and the constant anxiety that gnaws at me every time I look at the rising cost of just existing in this city. I keep wondering, how did this become the norm? I can barely remember what it felt like to not worry about money all the time. Growing up, we weren't exactly rich, but my parents always made it work. They never talked about money much, and I didn't understand how hard they were working to keep the bills paid until I was older. I guess I thought that once I was on my own, I'd know how to manage, like they did. But now that I'm here, I see that things aren't the same. The costs are higher, the wages are lower, and the hours just never seem to add up. It feels like a game where the rules keep changing, but I'm still stuck playing the same hand. I'm lucky to have a job, I know that. At least I'm not one of the countless people struggling to find work, but that doesn't make things easier. My job pays me just enough to make it from paycheck to paycheck. I've been here for almost a year now, and every month I count my earnings, subtract the essentials, and then watch the rest of it disappear into bills. The days of casually saving a little for a rainy day are long gone. The only thing I'm saving for now is the next emergency, because there's always going to be one. And then there's the emotional toll. It's hard to describe, but it's like carrying a weight that never lets up. I'm always thinking about money, always planning ahead, even when I'm not consciously trying to. I make decisions differently now, too. I'll skip a coffee with friends because I can't afford it. I won't buy the new book I've been eyeing because I need that $15 for groceries. Sometimes I'll even skip meals because the hunger feels more manageable than the anxiety of seeing my bank account drop below $50. It's exhausting, constantly weighing every choice and wondering if I'm making the right one, or if I'm digging myself deeper. It's not just the daily grind, though. It's the long-term dreams that have started to feel impossible. I've always wanted to travel, to see the world. But every time I even think about planning a trip, I can already feel the stress of the costs piling up. Even just getting to the point where I could afford a plane ticket feels like a far-off dream, something that's out of reach, reserved for people who have more disposable income. And that's the part that stings the most. The feeling that everything I want, whether it's a vacation, going back to school, or even just moving into a better apartment, feels so distant and unreachable. I can't help but think about the things I've had to put off: a new computer for work, the long overdue therapy sessions I know would help me cope better, maybe even a decent pair of shoes that don't hurt my feet after a few hours. I've learned to make do with what I have, but I wonder how long I can keep pretending that this isn't wearing me down. I've tried to find other ways to cope. Some days I'll take on extra shifts at work, but even that doesn't seem to make a big difference anymore. There's always a new cost on the horizon, and no matter how many hours I work, I never feel like I'm getting ahead. I've tried cutting back on luxuries, but there's not much left to cut. I don't go out much anymore. I've become a master at faking being okay, at putting on a smile when people ask how things are going. The truth is, I'm tired. Tired of being stretched too thin. Tired of feeling like I'm not really living, just existing. And then there are the moments when I let myself dream. Maybe someday, I'll be able to take a weekend trip just for the hell of it. Maybe someday, I won't have to worry about where the next meal is coming from or whether I can make it to the end of the month. I dream of a future where I can breathe, where I can invest in myself without having to constantly sacrifice something else. I want to believe it's possible, but it feels so far away. Some days, it's easier to believe that things will get better. I think about all the people who have made it through tough times, people who started from nothing and built something. I remind myself that things could change. But then, other days, it's like I can't shake this sinking feeling that I'm trapped in a system that was never built for people like me. The goalposts keep moving, and no matter how hard I run, I can't quite reach them. So, for now, I keep pushing. I keep showing up, even when it feels like I'm running on empty. I keep going through the motions, hoping that maybe, just maybe, things will start to turn around. But the truth is, it's hard to keep hope alive when every day feels like one step forward and two steps back. I don't know when, or if, things will get better. But I do know this: I'm doing the best I can, even when it doesn't feel like enough. I hope that one day, I'll look back on this time and see it as the moment I found my way out. But right now, I'm just trying to make it through, one day at a time. It's late in the evening, and I'm sitting at my small desk, the one that's wedged in the corner of my apartment between the window and the kitchen. The screen of my laptop glows, but the numbers on the spreadsheet in front of me aren't helping. They never do. I've been trying to budget for the last hour, but the numbers keep multiplying like a twisted game of math that I never signed up for. Rent, utilities, groceries, loan payments, insurance, every month, they keep growing. I don't know how they manage to grow faster than my paycheck, but they do. And yet, no matter how many times I sit here trying to make sense of it all, it's always the same: there's never enough. I check my bank account again, $78.45. I feel a tightness in my chest. It's so small a number, it hardly feels real. In the morning, I'll go to the grocery store, and I'll have to make decisions about what I can afford, what I can't, and what I can get by without. I'll be back to doing that mental math again, figuring out if I can skip lunch for a day to stretch my budget, or if I'll end up cooking ramen for dinner like I did last night. There's no time to feel sorry for myself. When I'm at the store, I just have to grab what I need and hope it lasts. At 24, I'm doing the kind of math most people don't expect their generation to be doing, calculating how long I can keep living paycheck to paycheck without it completely breaking me down. I know people my age who are trying to make it as artists, musicians, entrepreneurs, or whatever side hustle is trending this month. But all I'm trying to do is make it to the end of the week without having a panic attack over how I'm going to keep the lights on. I think about my parents, and how I used to think I'd be able to do more than they did at my age. They worked hard, but they didn't have a lot of options. Now, it feels like I'm in a similar spot, only worse. My parents worked with what they had, but they didn't have student loan debt or the pressure of living in an economy where everything's more expensive. They didn't worry about the rising cost of health insurance or feel the crushing weight of inflation every time they bought something. A part of me feels guilty for not having more hope or ambition, like I'm just letting life pass me by. But I can't help it. I'm tired. Exhausted. There are days when it feels like there's nothing left to give, no energy to put into trying to find the perfect balance between being financially responsible and chasing after the dreams I've held on to. When I was younger, I imagined my 20s would be this time of adventure, of exploration, of figuring out who I was outside of school or my hometown. Now, I'm just figuring out how to survive. Most nights, I lie awake thinking about everything I've had to put on hold. I wanted to travel, to go somewhere new. I thought by now, I'd have visited at least one foreign country, seen the world beyond the few states I've been to. But now, travel feels like a distant dream. How can I save for a plane ticket when I can barely cover rent? Then there's the idea of owning a home. I've been dreaming of it since I was a kid, fantasizing about the kind of house I would buy one day. It would have a backyard, a porch, maybe a little garden. Somewhere I could settle in and call my own. But these days, owning a home feels like something that belongs to other people, people who can afford to pay off a mortgage without worrying if they're going to get evicted next month. Some days, it feels like I'm running on a treadmill that's set to a faster speed than I can handle. I keep running, trying to keep up, but the treadmill only accelerates, pulling me faster than my legs can carry me. And when I stop, if I stop, it all falls apart. I don't know if it's the pressure of not being able to get ahead, or the weight of being constantly stuck, but I can't shake the feeling of drowning. I try to do things to cope, to help me stay grounded. I take walks around the neighborhood in the evenings, trying to clear my head. I spend time with my friends when I can, even though it feels like I'm always saying I can't afford that right now or maybe next time. I don't want to let go of the things that bring me joy, the little moments of laughter with friends or a quiet evening watching a movie. But it's hard. Every time we go out, every meal we share, it's another reminder that I'm walking on the edge, with no room to breathe. I've learned not to ask for help. I don't want to admit how bad it's gotten. When I'm sitting across from friends who are just starting out in their careers, talking about buying houses or planning vacations, I keep quiet. I smile and nod, but inside, I'm wondering when my turn is going to come. When will I get to be the person who talks about their dream vacation or shares their plans for the future? But it's not just about the money. It's the weight of knowing that this is what life is supposed to look like right now. A few weeks ago, my therapist asked me what I wanted to accomplish in the next year. I didn't have an answer. I'm just trying to make it through. I haven't set goals for myself in so long that I forgot how to dream. My dreams feel out of reach, like stars I used to believe I could touch, but now they're fading, slipping through my fingers. And then there are the moments when I wonder if I'm doing something wrong. Am I supposed to feel this tired? This defeated? I know people say it's just the young adult struggle, that things get better with time. But all I see are headlines talking about the next financial crisis or another inflation rate that's eating away at people's savings. It's hard to be hopeful when you feel like the ground beneath you is always shifting. I don't know how much longer I can keep going like this, juggling bills and dreams, trying to figure out where the next dollar is going to come from. But I don't have a choice, do I? No one's coming to rescue me. I have to do this on my own, even if it feels impossible some days. So I'll keep going. I'll wake up tomorrow, make my coffee, and check the numbers again. I'll keep budgeting, keep trying to stretch every dollar. I'll keep holding on to the idea that maybe, just maybe, things will change. And in the meantime, I'll hold on to the hope that one day, I'll be able to step off the treadmill, catch my breath, and finally start living the way I've always dreamed. But for now, I keep moving forward, even if it feels like I'm stuck in the same place, spinning my wheels. Maybe that's all any of us can do right now: keep moving, keep surviving, and hold on to whatever scraps of hope we can find. It's 7 a.m. when my alarm goes off, but I've been awake for hours, lying in bed, staring at the ceiling. I can already feel the weight of the day pressing down on me. The same worries as yesterday: bills, rent, gas prices, groceries. It's all starting to feel like a game of Tetris, where the pieces keep falling faster and faster, but there's no way to clear the lines. No matter how hard I try, I can't make it work. I roll out of bed, tired but not sleepy, and shuffle to the kitchen. The fridge is almost empty, just a few wilted vegetables and a half-full carton of eggs. I make a quick breakfast, hoping it will last me through the day, even though I know I'll be hungry again by mid-afternoon. There's always something to buy. Always something to fix. But I can't afford to fix anything. I can't afford much of anything, honestly. I get dressed in the clothes I've been wearing for months. The same black jeans, the same jacket, the same pair of shoes with the sole worn down. I haven't had the heart to replace them, not with the way things are. Every time I see something I want, I can't help but think about how much more important it is to pay for my student loan payment, my phone bill, the rent that's coming up. I think about the small cushion of savings I've tried to build up, and how it's already been drained away with every unexpected expense. The car broke down last week, $300 I didn't have, and now I'm walking or taking the bus everywhere. Which, fine, is part of the game, but it makes me feel even more trapped. Like I'm spiraling, slowly, into something I can't control. I've been working 2 jobs for a while now. The first is full-time, and I get by just enough to pay the rent and a few bills. The second is part-time, evenings and weekends, so I'm never really not working. I've tried to stay positive about it, to remind myself that this is temporary, that I'm working towards something, that I'm making progress. But it's hard to believe that when all I see are the immediate pressures, everything that's due right now, this minute, and the knowledge that I can't make it work unless I sacrifice something. Every day is like trying to balance on a tightrope. One wrong move, and I'm falling. I try to keep my mental health intact, but it's a constant fight. Some days, it feels like there's no room for anything else. I wake up tired, go to work, come home, and collapse into bed. My social life? Forget it. I haven't had the energy to see friends in months. I can't remember the last time I went out for fun, or had a night off without worrying about whether I was missing out on a shift I could have picked up. It's exhausting. And when I get those moments to breathe, the pressure always creeps back in. I'll be walking home from work or sitting on the bus, and I'll feel it. The dread. The constant hum of anxiety in the background of everything I do. I can't escape the thought that no matter how hard I work, it never seems like enough. I see people around me, friends and strangers alike, moving forward, getting new cars, taking vacations, building their lives in ways that feel so out of reach to me. I'm stuck in this cycle of endless work and little reward, and it feels like I've missed the memo on how to actually live. How do they do it? How do they keep moving forward? I know I'm not alone in this, not by a long shot. So many people are struggling with the same thing. We're all drowning in the same economic tide, and the more we try to swim, the harder it gets. It's like there's an invisible wall we can't get past. Rent keeps going up, gas keeps going up, groceries are more expensive than ever, and wages just can't keep up. I watch as prices soar and my paycheck barely stretches to cover the basics. How am I supposed to build a future like this? I dream about a different life sometimes, a life where money isn't always on my mind, where I'm not constantly wondering how I'm going to make it to the next paycheck. I've always wanted to travel, to see new places, experience different cultures. I've had dreams of moving to a big city, getting a job in the creative field I've always loved, maybe even starting my own business someday. But those dreams feel far off, impossible. Every day is a reminder of just how much further I am from those goals. How many years away they seem. And sometimes, I wonder if they'll always be just dreams. If I'll spend the rest of my life working, day after day, struggling to make ends meet, watching life happen around me but never quite getting to live it. I hate that thought. I hate that it feels like I'm trapped in this cycle, with no way out. I try to remind myself that this won't last forever, that there are things I can do to change my situation. But the truth is, I don't know how to break free. Every time I make a small step forward, it feels like I'm pulled 2 steps back. It's frustrating. I want to be optimistic. I want to believe that things will get better, that my hard work will pay off, that the future will eventually open up in ways I can't yet see. But right now, it just feels like one big struggle. At night, when I'm lying in bed, I try to picture a different life. I imagine myself in a job I love, living in a space that feels like mine, traveling to places I've dreamed of, making the kind of money that gives me peace of mind instead of panic. I hold on to those dreams tightly, even though I know they feel distant. Because without them, I don't know what I'd have to keep going for. It's the only thing that keeps me from giving up. I guess the reality is, I'm doing my best. And sometimes, that's enough. Some days, it's hard to see it. Some days, it feels like I'm drowning. But I'm still here. Still fighting. Even when it's hard to see the point. Even when it feels like I'm running in circles, hoping something will change. I just keep moving forward. Slowly. Day by day. Maybe, one day, I'll get there. I don't know when, or how, but I have to believe that I will. Because without that hope, I don't know what else I'd have. There are days when I wake up, stare at the ceiling, and feel the weight of the world pushing down on me. It's like the air is thick with all the things I can't afford to ignore, the bills that have piled up, the bank balance that never seems to stretch far enough, and the constant nagging thought that I'm running out of time. Time for what? Time to fix it all, I guess. Time to feel like I'm finally standing on solid ground instead of constantly swimming against a current that's getting stronger every day. I'm 24, living in a city that I used to love. I moved here after college with so many hopes, dreams, and ideas about the future. I thought I'd be able to make it, to thrive in a world that promised opportunity for anyone willing to work hard enough. But lately, that feeling of possibility has felt like a cruel joke. When I first got my job out of school, it felt like a win. I was making decent money, enough to cover my rent and still have a little left for the occasional coffee or dinner with friends. I thought, this is it. I'm going to be okay, but now, the bills are stacking up in ways I didn't expect. Every month, I look at my pay stub and feel a sinking pit in my stomach. My rent is higher than I ever anticipated, $1,400 for a 1-bedroom apartment that's barely big enough for a desk and a bed. Utilities, insurance, and a few subscriptions I really need, I promise, I do, push it even higher. And that's not even counting the student loans that I'm still chipping away at, one small payment at a time. The inflation over the last few years has been a punch to the gut. I don't know how anyone is supposed to keep up with prices rising faster than salaries. Gas prices are up, groceries are up, even getting a decent cup of coffee feels like a luxury now. I remember going to the store a few months ago and seeing that a loaf of bread had gone up by almost $1. I wanted to cry in the middle of the aisle. I didn't need to eat that day. I didn't need to buy anything at all, but there was this sense of helplessness that washed over me, as if everything I do just adds to the problem. I keep trying to be responsible. I do. I've cut back on spending in almost every area of my life. I've started using my public transportation pass instead of Ubering everywhere, I've canceled a few of the streaming services I hardly use, and I'm trying to eat at home more. I even took up couponing, which makes me feel both resourceful and a little bit pathetic, but the truth is, it doesn't change much. After a while, I start feeling like I'm just rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic. It's not a solution, it's a band-aid. Then, there's the mental toll. It's like the stress is never far behind me, constantly hovering. Every time I open my bank account, there's that sickening jolt in my chest as I check how much I've spent versus how much is left. It's a cycle, over and over again. I try to talk to friends about it, but it's hard to find a way to say it without sounding like I'm complaining. We all have our struggles, right? Everyone's trying to make ends meet, and I know that. But what happens when it's more than just making ends meet? What happens when you're drowning in a system where your paycheck is already spoken for before you even cash it, and the cost of living keeps rising faster than your ability to keep up? What happens when you wake up each day feeling like you're just going through the motions, constantly trying to juggle bills and responsibilities without ever getting ahead? There are times I think I've lost touch with who I even am anymore. When I was younger, I had dreams. Big ones. I wanted to travel the world, write a book, maybe start a small business. Now, I can barely scrape together enough to take a weekend trip to the next town over. I had imagined buying a house one day, finding a place where I could grow roots and create a home for myself. But with rent prices creeping higher every year and wages staying stagnant, homeownership feels like a fantasy that's slipping farther away with each passing day. The thought of a mortgage, of committing to something that large when I can barely afford rent, feels laughable. The worst part is the guilt. I feel guilty for not having it all figured out. I feel guilty for not being able to afford the things my friends can: vacations, dinners out, little luxuries that feel like they're out of reach for me. I feel guilty for having dreams that seem impossible, for hoping that one day I might be able to buy a house or take a trip without worrying about where the money will come from. I know I'm not the only one feeling this way. So many people my age, and even older, are stuck in this endless cycle. But it doesn't make it feel any less isolating. I keep telling myself that I'm doing my best. I remind myself that I'm working hard, that I have a job, that I'm not giving up. But there are days when I wonder if it will ever get better, or if this is just how it's supposed to be. The idea of getting a second job feels exhausting, and I don't even know where I'd find the time. I feel trapped in a system that demands more than I can give, where every raise I get feels like it's immediately eaten up by rent or gas prices or just basic survival. It's exhausting. I feel like I'm running in place, working harder and harder just to stay afloat, but never moving forward. And then there are the days when I can't ignore the reality anymore. Days when I break down and cry in the middle of my living room, staring at my bills, wondering if I'll ever be able to have the kind of life I dreamed of. I hate that feeling, but I'm learning to accept it. I've started to find small ways to cope: journaling, going for walks, breathing exercises, talking to friends when I can. But there are days when it just doesn't feel like enough. The pressure builds up, and I feel like I'm suffocating. The hardest part? I'm not sure what to hope for anymore. I used to believe that if I worked hard enough, if I just kept pushing, things would improve. But what happens when the goalposts keep moving, when it feels like the rules of the game keep changing, and no matter how hard you work, you can't catch up? I don't know. I don't know how to feel optimistic when everything around me seems to be telling me that it's only going to get harder. I've had to let go of some of my dreams, at least for now. I've had to accept that I might not be able to travel for a while, or that buying a house is further away than I hoped. But I'm trying to remind myself that I'm still here. I'm still going. Maybe that's the most important thing. I don't have all the answers. Maybe I'll never figure it all out. But every day I wake up and try to keep moving forward, even if it's just one small step at a time. And that has to count for something, right? I've always been told that adulthood would come with freedom. That as I got older, I'd have the independence to make choices about what I wanted to do, where I wanted to go, how I wanted to live. But no one ever mentioned that true freedom would be tied to how much money you make and how much money you spend. No one told me how fast things would get out of control once I stepped into this world on my own. I don't think I ever really understood what pressure was until now. I remember the years before I graduated from college, when I would listen to adults talk about bills and loans, thinking they were just complaining. I thought, that'll never be me. I'll figure it out. I'll make enough. I'll be smart about it. Now, sitting in my small, dimly lit apartment on a Friday night, checking my bank account balance for what feels like the 100th time this week, I realize how naive I was. It's strange, but I think the hardest part is not even that I don't make enough money. It's how it feels like everything is designed to make sure I never will. The rent? That's gone up by $150 over the past 2 years. My grocery bill? It seems to go up every single month, even when I try to be careful. Gas prices? Don't even get me started. It's like everything just keeps increasing, while my paycheck, small as it is, stays almost exactly the same. I feel stuck. Trapped, even. Every time I get a paycheck, it's a fleeting sense of relief that's quickly replaced by the realization that I have bills to pay, student loans to deal with, and groceries to buy. And every time I try to make a dent in any of that, it feels like I'm just spinning my wheels, watching the money drain out faster than I can refill it. It's exhausting. There are days when I just want to quit. I fantasize about packing up and leaving, maybe finding a small town where everything is cheaper and less stressful. But then I remember that even a move like that requires money I don't have. And I wonder how many other people feel like this, how many of us are just trying to keep our heads above water, hoping we don't drown under the weight of it all. I think about the people who have made it, who seem to have it all figured out, and I wonder what I'm doing wrong. It's not just the financial strain. It's the constant emotional toll that it takes. Every single day is a battle. I wake up, go to work, and think about the bills I need to pay. I check my email, and there's another offer for a credit card, a loan, or some kind of promotion. It's like everyone is trying to sell me something I can't afford, but also telling me that I'm supposed to want it. Some days, it feels like my dreams are slipping further away. I've always wanted to travel, see the world, experience new places. But when I look at my bank account, I know that dream is nowhere close to reality. It feels like the years are passing, and with every year that goes by, the gap between the life I imagined for myself and the life I'm living gets wider. I had plans. I had hope. I thought that once I got through school, it would all be smooth sailing. But now, everything feels harder than I ever imagined it would be. I can't even remember the last time I truly relaxed. Most of my time off is spent trying to catch up on sleep, catch up on bills, catch up on everything that's piling up. And the worst part is, the moment I think I'm getting ahead, something else hits. Like my car breaking down, or an unexpected medical bill. It's like the universe is trying to remind me that I don't have control over anything. I've started to avoid thinking too far ahead because it only stresses me out more. When I do think about the future, all I can see is this never-ending cycle. Will things ever get better? Will I ever be able to stop working multiple jobs just to make ends meet? Will I ever be able to breathe without feeling like I'm constantly suffocating under the weight of everything I owe? I've had to let go of so many dreams. Dreams that were once my motivation to keep going. I used to dream about becoming a writer, sharing my stories with the world, but now, that seems like an impossible luxury. I used to imagine traveling, seeing different countries, learning about new cultures, but now I can barely afford a weekend getaway. I used to dream of having a home, an actual home, not just an apartment, and building a life around that. But now, with the cost of housing, even the thought of buying a place feels like a distant fantasy. There are days when I just feel like giving up on everything. I think about quitting my job, throwing in the towel, and just disappearing somewhere quiet, where no one can tell me what I'm supposed to be doing with my life. But I can't. I can't give up, because deep down, I know that if I do, I'll be giving up on myself. I've learned to cope in small ways. I've learned to tell myself that it's okay to not have everything figured out. I've learned to be okay with taking small steps, even if they don't lead to instant results. I've learned that progress is often invisible and slow, but it's still progress. I've learned to find little moments of joy in between all the stress, whether it's a cup of coffee with a friend or a quiet night in with a book. And I've learned to keep fighting, even when it feels pointless. I try not to think about how long it'll take me to get out of this cycle. Instead, I focus on the small victories, the bills I've managed to pay on time, the moments when I manage to save a little bit, even if it's just a few bucks. I tell myself that someday, things will change. That someday, I'll be able to breathe easier. But right now, that feels so far away. I don't know when it happened, but somewhere along the way, I stopped feeling like I was in control of my life. Instead, I feel like I'm just a passenger, watching as everything speeds by, trying to hold on. The weight of my finances, the constant stress, the ever-growing list of things I need to do, it all adds up. But I try to remind myself that this isn't permanent. That this is just a chapter in my story, even if it feels like the longest chapter. Maybe someday, I'll look back and see this as a part of my journey, a lesson in resilience, in perseverance. But right now, I'm just trying to make it through. One day at a time. And hoping that one day, when I look back, I'll see that all this struggle was worth it. I wake up in the morning to the sound of my alarm buzzing incessantly. It's still dark outside, and I'm already dreading the day ahead. The weight of my reality presses down on me even before I get out of bed. I know I'm supposed to be grateful for what I have, a roof over my head, a job that pays the bills, but I can't shake the feeling that I'm just treading water. I try to get dressed quickly, the process feeling mechanical, like I'm running through a checklist more than a routine. I glance at my phone, already flooded with notifications, bills due, a reminder from the bank that my checking account is dangerously close to being overdrawn, a friend posting about a trip to Europe they're taking in a few months. The contrast stings. I don't even have a credit card anymore, it's been maxed out for months. It's just me, my rent, student loan payments, groceries, and utilities, each thing creeping higher and higher as time goes on. It doesn't help that inflation has made every single expense feel like an attack. I used to be able to get by with a simple budget, but that was before everything seemed to go up by at least 10%. Every day, it feels like I'm running on a treadmill that's speeding up, but I'm not getting anywhere. I keep telling myself that this is just temporary, that it's all part of the process. But some days, I wonder how long temporary is supposed to last. I can't even remember the last time I bought something for myself just because I wanted it. Everything I own now feels like a need, not a want. Clothes, food, gas, just enough to survive. On the subway ride to work, I think about the future. I've always had dreams, big ones. I wanted to travel, see the world, maybe go back to school for something I was passionate about. But those dreams feel increasingly distant. Every time I check my bank account, those dreams seem to slip further away. I hear people around me talking about vacations, new apartments, new clothes, and I feel like I'm on the outside looking in. I'm stuck in this loop, and I'm not sure how to break free. At work, I sit at my desk, trying to focus. My job isn't bad, it's just not enough. I know I should be thankful for the stability, but the truth is, I'm burned out. I sit through meetings, replying to emails, doing tasks that feel like they don't matter at all. I watch my colleagues take long lunch breaks, chat about their weekend plans, and I wonder how they afford these luxuries. Every time someone mentions an expensive restaurant or a concert ticket, I can't help but feel a pang of envy. I know it's not their fault, but it's hard not to feel like I'm doing something wrong. Why can't I afford those things? Why do I have to work so hard just to scrape by? It's not that I don't want to be responsible, I do. I just feel like I'm fighting an impossible battle. My rent keeps rising. My student loans are a weight around my neck. The gas prices are outrageous, and I still need to get to work. I try to cut back on everything, no more eating out, no more ordering coffee, no more buying small comforts. But it doesn't help. There's only so much you can trim from a budget before it becomes unbearable. At night, when I'm home and the day is done, I sit on the couch and stare at the bills piling up on the kitchen table. I've started taking on side jobs, working weekends, picking up freelance gigs here and there, but it's never enough. Even with the extra hours, it doesn't feel like I'm making progress. I'm running faster, but the finish line keeps moving further away. I think about the future, and sometimes I'm afraid to. It feels like there's no room for growth. I've watched my friends move into new apartments, get married, take vacations, and have kids, while I'm just trying to make sure I have enough money to buy groceries next week. I'm happy for them, of course, but it's hard not to feel like I'm failing when the world around me seems to be moving forward while I'm stuck. It's not just about the money. It's about feeling like I'm not in control. The decisions I make each day are always based on survival. Should I pay this bill today or let it wait for a few days? Should I spend $5 on lunch or save it for gas? I used to have choices, real ones. But now, it feels like I'm just trying to stay afloat in a sea of costs that keep rising. The emotional toll is heavier than I let on. I try to put on a brave face when people ask me how I'm doing, but deep down, I feel exhausted. I feel stretched thin, like I'm always running on empty. There's this constant hum of anxiety in the back of my mind that never goes away. It's not a big panic attack, but it's always there, always reminding me that I'm not where I want to be. I'm not living the life I imagined for myself when I was younger. I always thought I'd be someone who could pursue their dreams without having to worry about money constantly. But now it feels like money is the only thing I think about. I try to cope in small ways. I get up early to go for a run because it's the only time I feel like I have control over something. It's the only thing I can do for myself that feels like a choice, not a necessity. But even that has become harder. The exhaustion from working long hours, from trying to make ends meet, bleeds into everything, and I'm finding it harder to motivate myself to do the things that used to make me feel alive. I dream about a time when I can breathe again, when I don't have to make a decision based on fear. But I'm not sure when that will be. Some days, I wonder if it'll ever happen at all. Sometimes I get angry about the system, about how the cost of living keeps outpacing wages, about how no matter how hard I work, I can't seem to climb out of this hole. But then the anger turns to resignation, and I just keep pushing forward, one day at a time. There's a part of me that still believes I can change things, that things will get better. But that hope is growing more fragile with every bill that arrives. I remind myself that I'm not alone in this, that so many others are in the same boat, struggling to make ends meet. That thought offers some comfort, but it doesn't change my reality. It doesn't change the fact that I'm just trying to survive. And so I go on. I wake up each day, face the relentless grind, and keep dreaming about a future where I don't have to worry about money. I don't know when that future will come, but I hold on to it. It's the only thing that keeps me from sinking completely into despair. Some days, that's all I have, the hope that maybe, just maybe, there's a way out of this. But for now, it's just me, one step at a time, trying to make it through another day. I'm not sure when it started feeling like this, like I'm constantly drowning, but the surface is always just out of reach. Maybe it was gradual, this slow sinking into a financial pit, but now it feels like the walls are closing in, tightening around me every month. I've tried to keep up, tried to convince myself that I'm doing okay, but the reality hits the moment I check my bank account or open a bill. I'm 25, and I feel stuck. Trapped in a system that demands more than I can give. The numbers never add up, and they never will. I wake up in the morning with a sense of dread. Not from anything specific, but just from knowing I have to face another day of figuring out how to stretch the little money I have. My job, which I used to feel hopeful about, now just feels like an endless cycle. I'm grateful for it, of course. I work as a marketing assistant, and it pays decently for someone just starting out. But it's not enough. It's never enough. Each day feels like a balancing act. There's always something. Rent, utilities, student loans, car payment, groceries, gas. The bills come in waves, and I'm always trying to outpace them, just to stay afloat. Sometimes, I don't even open the envelopes right away. I know what's inside. I've seen it all before, due dates, late fees, numbers I can't afford. So, I wait. I wait until the last possible moment when I can't avoid it any longer. I'm careful with my spending, and I still don't have enough. Every time I swipe my debit card, there's this heavy feeling in my chest. The moment the transaction goes through, I think, is that going to be the one that puts me over the edge? And when I see a few dollars left in my account after a necessary purchase, I feel a rush of anxiety, like I've just walked the tightrope without falling, but the next gust of wind is coming. I have a budget, of course. I'm supposed to stick to it. But life doesn't fit into neat little categories. You can't plan for emergencies, when your car breaks down, or when you need new tires, or when you get sick, or when a friend invites you to a birthday dinner that you really want to go to but can't afford. These things don't fit. They throw everything off course. They remind me of how precarious everything is. There's this constant battle between what I need to do and what I want to do. I can't buy the clothes I've been eyeing for months, or go on a spontaneous weekend trip like I used to. When I see people my age on social media traveling, or out at brunch, or just living the way I imagined I would, I feel a pang in my chest. I want that too. I want to enjoy life the way I thought I would at 25. But there's no room for that when your reality is dominated by payments that come before pleasure. The worst part is that it feels like the goalposts are always moving. Prices keep rising. Rent went up by $200 this year, and my student loan payment just increased because of interest. The economy is constantly shifting, and I'm stuck in the middle, just trying to hold on. I hear about wage growth, and I know the numbers, but it never feels like my paycheck is keeping pace with the cost of living. I've considered getting a second job, but the idea of working even more hours just to get by exhausts me. I feel like I'd have no life left. I already feel like I'm losing myself in this grind, and I don't know if I could bear adding more. I try to remind myself that I'm not alone in this, that so many people my age are struggling too. But that doesn't make it any easier. Sometimes, I want to scream because no matter how hard I work, it feels like I'm always behind. Every victory is small and fleeting. Paying off one bill feels good for about 10 minutes before another one shows up. I'm so tired. Not just physically, though I am. But emotionally, mentally. It's exhausting to constantly be on edge, to feel like you're always scrambling. I feel like I can't relax. Even when I'm supposed to be having a good time, I'm worrying about the cost of everything. Should I really get that extra drink? Should I really go out for dinner? It's like I'm stuck in a cycle where I'm either pinching pennies or feeling guilty about spending the pennies I've managed to save. I used to have dreams. Not big ones, necessarily. I wasn't planning to live in a mansion or anything, but I wanted a life where I could afford the things I cared about. I wanted to travel, to experience new places, to have a space I could decorate the way I wanted. I wanted to feel comfortable, you know? Not like I'm constantly fighting to keep up. I used to think that if I just worked hard enough, eventually I'd get there. But now, it feels like those dreams are on hold. I've had to push them aside, one by one. The trip to Europe I've been planning for years? Maybe in 10 years, if I'm lucky. I've had to tell myself that I can't afford to think about getting a dog, even though I know I'd be a good dog parent and I crave that companionship. I've even had to put off moving out of my apartment because my rent is cheaper than anything I could find in a better neighborhood. The hardest thing to accept is that this might just be the way it is. The constant struggle, the financial pressure, the fear of the future. I want to believe that if I just work a little harder, I can break through, but I don't know anymore. It feels like the system is rigged against me, like no matter what I do, I can't win. I try to cope. I tell myself it's temporary, that one day I'll have enough. That maybe, just maybe, I'll have the kind of life I want. But I also know I'm not alone in this feeling. So many of my friends are in the same boat. We talk about it sometimes, but there's not much we can do. We all just keep trying to survive. Keep pushing forward, even when it feels like we're walking on sand that's always shifting beneath us. So, I keep moving. I keep hoping. Even when the bills feel suffocating and the dreams feel distant, I keep going. Because what else can I do? I just hope that someday, I can look back on this period of my life and say I made it through. That I didn't let the weight of it all crush me. And maybe, just maybe, I'll get to live that life I once dreamed of, one where the pressure isn't so constant, and the future feels a little brighter. Until then, I'll just keep swimming, holding on, and hoping for a better tomorrow. I wake up at 6:30 a.m., before my alarm even goes off. It's always that way now, my body just knows when it's time to face the day. There's no snooze button on the life I'm living. I lie there for a few moments, staring at the ceiling, trying to muster the energy to start the routine. It feels like a loop that's only getting tighter and harder to break. The first thought that hits me every morning is the same: how am I going to make it through today? It's not a dramatic question, not really. It's a practical one. A necessary one. Every day feels like another balancing act between bills, work, and the constant anxiety that comes with not knowing if it'll all add up at the end of the month. My paycheck never stretches far enough, and somehow, expenses keep growing. Rent's gone up again, even though it's already more than half of what I make. The utilities are creeping higher each time, and every time I fill up my gas tank, it feels like I'm watching money evaporate in front of me. I get out of bed and shuffle to the kitchen, making coffee like I do every morning, hoping the caffeine will give me the mental clarity to power through the day. It's the one luxury I allow myself now: coffee. I can't remember the last time I went out for a meal that wasn't fast food or something I could throw together in 5 minutes. There's no room for anything else in the budget. I'd like to say I'm good at managing money, but the truth is, it feels like I'm always just one step behind. The bills come in faster than I can pay them. Credit card statements, student loan reminders, rent, everything hits at once, and there's barely enough to cover the essentials. I cut corners wherever I can, but it's never enough. When I do buy something for myself, like a new shirt or a movie ticket, I immediately feel guilty, like I've done something wrong. Like I'm failing somehow. But it's hard to explain to anyone that when you're constantly worried about money, the smallest indulgence feels like a rebellion against the constant grind. I try to talk about it with friends, but most of them are dealing with their own version of the same thing. It's a silent competition over who can juggle the most financial stress without cracking. Some days, I feel like we're all just pretending to be okay, but deep down, we all know we're struggling. The worst part is that this doesn't feel temporary. I can't shake the feeling that I'm trapped in a cycle I can't break. Every time I think I've figured something out, a new expense or setback hits, knocking me back down. I'm not in debt like some people, but that doesn't mean I'm not drowning. The cost of living is outpacing my ability to keep up, and the dream I had of owning a home or being financially stable feels further and further out of reach. My parents talk about their retirement savings, and I just feel a wave of panic. I'm not even sure I'll ever be able to afford a decent place to live, let alone have enough to save for the future. The worst part? The guilt. There's a voice in my head constantly whispering that I should be doing better. I should be working harder. I should be smarter with money. But it's hard to do any of that when it feels like the system is rigged against you. No matter how hard I work, I don't seem to get ahead. I have a steady job, but it doesn't pay enough to cover everything. I could work more hours, but that means sacrificing my mental health and well-being. It feels like a no-win situation. I've tried to cut down on spending, but even that feels like a game of whack-a-mole. I cancel subscriptions, try to meal prep, walk instead of driving, but there's always something else creeping up. The car breaks down. A medical bill shows up. I need new shoes for work because the old ones are falling apart. Some days, it feels like I'm not living, I'm just surviving. And yet, I keep pushing forward, telling myself that things will get better. There has to be a way out of this. I just have to find it. I dream about the future, about a life where I don't have to constantly worry about money. I dream about a place of my own, not some tiny apartment with thin walls and neighbors I never see, but a real home, a space where I can feel settled, where I don't have to check my bank account every time I want to make a purchase. I imagine having a job that allows me to breathe, to do more than just make ends meet. But for now, it feels like those dreams are on hold. Like they're slipping further and further away with every paycheck that isn't enough. And as much as I try to push the thoughts aside, they keep creeping back in. Will I ever get there? Or is this just how life is now? The emotional toll is the hardest part. I feel it in the pit of my stomach, the gnawing anxiety that doesn't go away. it follows me everywhere. I can't even enjoy the little things anymore without wondering what it will cost me down the line. I should be excited about the future, about all the things I want to accomplish. But instead, it feels like I'm always waiting for something to go wrong, like the other shoe is about to drop. Some days, it feels like the walls are closing in. I get home after work and collapse on the couch, too tired to do anything but scroll through social media. I see people traveling, buying new clothes, eating out at nice restaurants, and I feel a pang of envy. I used to be able to do those things too. But now, it feels like all I'm doing is running on a treadmill, going faster and faster, but never getting anywhere. At night, I lie awake, thinking about what's next. I try to find hope in small things, like the fact that I'm still here, still pushing through, still trying. But it's hard to see a way out when every day feels like a struggle just to keep my head above water. I keep telling myself that it won't always be like this. That things will get better. But it's hard to believe that when everything feels so uncertain. The world around me is changing faster than I can keep up with, and I don't know if I'm ever going to catch up. I'm not giving up. I won't. But some days, it feels like the weight of everything is too much to carry alone. And it's hard not to wonder if this is just the way life is now, constantly scrambling, constantly fighting to keep up, with no end in sight. But I still hold on to the hope that maybe, someday, things will be different. Maybe, someday, I won't feel trapped. Maybe, someday, I'll be able to breathe. Until then, I keep going, one day at a time, even though it feels like the world is pushing against me. And maybe, just maybe, that's enough. Thank you for watching until the end. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss new videos. Also, leave a comment, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Your support and engagement mean a lot to me. See you in the next video.